Were they a cappella then, really? I mean, really, boy, it's too early in the morning for me. Tommy, were they a cappella when you were with them, or were they with guitar?
They had one guitar,
okay,
but it wasn't electric.
Okay.
It was a Gibson.
Just a regular guitar?
Just a regular guitar. It was what you would say it would be a cappella.
Yeah. Back
long and then. And you can imagine how high they were singing back then, and I had to get up there.
But I listened to their a cappella songs. It's a Highway to Heaven, One of These Days, something else I have a cappella. I only have 4 songs a cappella by them off the top of my head that I can think of. But then there's a new CD release called Father and Sons, and they're on there with Vacant Room and Glory and some other great songs. Don't you see how they done My Lord?
Uh-huh.
And, what's the other one? Look for Me in Heaven or something. I can't remember it all. But you were with the Nightingales, so you actually recorded with the Nightingales too.
Yes, I recorded.
So you recorded with...
I didn't sing. I didn't do no lead.
So you recorded with Madam Edna Coco Nashbro.
Yeah.
You go over to Peacock and do with the Gales.
Gales.
What were you, in your 20s?
No, I wasn't 20 yet, I don't think.
All these famous people, and you just a teenager.
And then I left, and Nightingales when June come back and went with the Chosen Gospel Singers.
Where were they from?
Los Angeles, California. They did songs like No Room in the Hotel and songs.
How did you get from South Carolina all the way out to California to meet up with these people?
Well, by meeting people, just like that. Like met Mr. Parks and his husband, and went there, and then, moving around.
But you never really left your home. You're still in South Carolina.
Yeah, well, by that time now, I was living in Brooklyn. By that time.
And what made you want to come, of all the cities in the country, what brought you up to Brooklyn?
Well, my mother was up there.
Okay.
My mother was up there, and I was up there with her after, my grandmother and them raised me. Then I went, I'd be back. I'd go to school, and during summer months, when I was at school, I'd come back and be with my grandmother and grandfather in South Carolina.
Now, coming from a little country town, going to the big city, skyscrapers, bright lights, flashy people, 42nd Street, nothing but movie houses up and down there, about 300 movies in one block there between 7th and 8th Avenue, Charlie Story Auditorium.
You remember that?
Oh, God, yeah.
Fulton Street.
125th Street.
Yeah.
Want some good food.
Yeah.
So you come up there, you must have been dazzled to see all this.
Oh, I was. But Lynn, I never tried to put the lights out, Always lived a somewhat a private life, a quiet life, just in church and loved to sing gospel.
So it fascinated you, but not to the point where you went wild and berserk?
No, of course not.
Not even for a minute?
Not even for a minute.
So you're with the Gale. You left the Gales.
I left the
and
Gales.
You went out to California. Well, you didn't. Did you move to California? You
no.
Just traveled with them?
The Chosen Singers, But by that time,
they were older men, weren't they?
Somewhat. The manager was up in age, but the rest of the fellows wasn't that old. Like Sam Thomas, God bless the dead. He was with the Brooklyn All-Stars. When he passed. And Bob Crutcher, God bless the dead again. He passed on. And you might not know this, but the Chosens brought Lou Rawls on the road. Lou Rawls.
Well, I have him as a young teenager with the Pilgrim Travelers.
Right.
But I can't. You know what? Now that you mention that, there is a brand new CD out with the Chosen Gospel Singers on Specialty Records.
That's right.
With a young Lou Rawls.
That's right. They brought him. He was the first gospel group that was the first gospel group that he sung with. They brought him on the road, Lou Rawls.
Now, what's funny? They're from California. Yeah. He lived in Chicago.
Yeah. Well,
And he had a little teenage rock and roll group, because I have a picture of them too.
Mm-hmm.
They must have been about like 13 years old.
Yeah. I wasn't familiar with that, but I do know the Chosens brought him on the road. They were the first gospel group that he sung with, the Raws.
So you're with the group from California, the Chosen Gospel Singers. You recorded with them?
Yes, we did a hit song called Saints Go Marching In on Nashville Records.
Did you lead, or were you in the background?
Yes, I was doing the lead, me and Bob Crutcher.
Was this your first time leading on record?
With the Chosens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you didn't lead, of course, with Edna, and you didn't lead, of course, with the Gales.
This is my first time leading with a professional artist on record.
On record, okay. What was it like hearing yourself on record?
Oh, it was wonderful. Especially when it was a hit.
How long did you stay with the Chosen?
Oh, I stayed with them a while until in Goldsboro, North Carolina, one afternoon, Tommy Johnson and Jimmy Jones, the great bass singer.
Yeah.
God bless the dead, he passed last year. I was sitting on the porch there. We happened to be in Goldsboro together, and I saw Jimmy Jones, and we called him Goat, Tommy Johnson.
When you were saying Tommy Johnson, I said, why does that mean? This is going to be really funny, and this is honest to God truth, Tommy. I was a teenager, and I was in the Apollo Theater, and this was all new. I'm looking at all these artists, and when the Harmonizing Four came out, they would come out, and then they would introduce, and ladies and gentlemen, the world's greatest bass singer, Mr. Jimmy Jones. He'd come out separate. And when he came out separate, and I'm standing there watching these men, I said, that man looks like a goat. Because he had the goatee.
He had a goatee.
And I'm just a kid now.
Yeah.
Didn't realize till years later that people actually called him
That's
Goat.
right. That was his nickname, Goat.
I never knew that. I was just sitting there to myself saying, he looks like a goat with that goatee. Never realized that was his actual nickname.
So, I was sitting on, back then, we wasn't staying in the nice motels like we're staying now. We stayed in a room in houses, and you know how it was.
There was more, I think back then, Tommy, I think the singers looked out for each other. If they knew a certain place where you could stop, they would let you know.
Right.
If they knew a certain boarding house or a restaurant that would treat you nice, they would let the other singers know. Now, when you go down here, you stop here, you call this person.
Yes.
And they looked out for each other because you had no choice back then.
Had no choice.
It was bad.
And then people back then would invite you to their home.
That's right, for supper.
Yeah, and they invite you to stay too, because they know how it was.
They knew how it was.
And
they respected the singers.
They respected the singers. And modern time is fine. But I really would like to for the people to go back to the old time way. Not in every way, but the basics.
The hospitality.
The hospitality.
The lovingness.
The love that people had for one another.
Yeah. We looked out for each other.
We looked out for each other.
We looked out for each other.
We respected each other.
But I think Satan has just infiltrated even the Christian community. And I think that you'll find singers and church folks doing the same thing people out in the world are doing. And I think this is what is happening. I think Satan's on a rampage. And I think he's not just the young people. He's touched a lot of the church folks. Once he gets into your mind, once he takes over your mind, that's it. That's all he wants.
Well, then, he's behind me. And that's where he's going to stay. He's behind me, and that's where he's going to stay.
Right. And I think it's a time when people back there, Tommy, were more praying people.
Yeah.
They prayed before they went out to sing. There was daily prayer. They'd come together for prayer. But I think people have gotten away from that.
Well, then, a lot of people have, but...
you should never go on the floor without praying.
Oh, I never do. Whatever I attempt to do, Len, I put God first.
Even if you go in a recording studio, you should pray first.
When I get dressed today and head for Atlantic City, I put the Lord in front of me. I tell him to take me.
You have to.
Safely. I've been called old-fashioned, even when I was real young. because people would ask me, come on, my friends, come on, let's
go here.
Yeah, let's go here. I said, no, y'all go ahead. I'll be here when you come back.
It can be lonely and it can be frustrating sometimes because you feel like you're not a part of them, and they don't understand. They don't always understand that you have certain things and certain standards that were set up for you.
Exactly.
And you know what's right and you know what's wrong. And you don't want to be in a situation or an environment where you feel uncomfortable.
Then in my life, I never learned how to dance. On the dancing floor. I learned how to dance for the Lord.
Right.
But not out there.
Right.
I never learned how to dance because.
And people make fun of you.
Yeah.
Especially if you're young.
Call me square.
Yeah. If you're young, they make fun of you.
Yeah, call me square.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind. And I'm still a square. When it come down to that.
Right. You leave the Gales. Harmonizing Four. You're up in Brooklyn, New York.
That's right.
You meet up with the Harmonizing Four.
Yes.
You did some songs with the Harmonizing Four.
That's right. Like I said, that song we did
Pick Me Up and Turn Me Around.
Glad I Found the Lord on VJ Records. Yes.
What year was that, Tommy? You remember? Would that have been the late 50s or early 60s?
54.
My God.
It could have been. No, it wasn't 54.
If I had that CD...
I went with the Harmonizing Four in 55.
Okay.
I imagine it was somewhere around 57.
Okay.
Yeah, 57.
When you left the Harmonizing Four, where'd you go then?
Organized Tommy Ellison.